Hello and welcome to Pink Monarch Prints. My name is Bobby and I'm a guest designer here. And I am from Precious Memory Boxes Junk Journaling, also on YouTube. So if you have a moment, jump over and check out my channel. But today we are going to create a journal topper from the Whimsical kit on Pink Monarch Prints. And I'm using the papers and the fussy cuts, and I'd already cut out some of the tag pieces, so I'm using those also. They also have a pocket kit that goes along with this. And this is kind of a craft with me. It's, not my original idea. I've seen these type of journal toppers before, just different layered windows here, but I wanted to give it a try with this kit. And so I wanted to take you along and we can just craft along together and hopefully it'll come together on paper like it did in my head. So this is just one of the papers in the kit. It's this beautiful purple and there's writing in the background. And then on this side, I copied another one of the papers, which you'll see reflected in the journal topper there. So I hate to, if I can put something on the back of the papers, I like to do that. But I'm just going to use this piece as a representative of my journal, where you would place it, on top of the journal. So we'll set that aside for a little bit here. And when we get all done, you'll see where that's going to come into place. So what I did is I started out with a CD envelope and I cut it apart. I cut the back portion off, but I saved this flap because I'm going to use that as a hinge. And I left on the acetate on it so we could use it like a window. You could take that off if you want. It doesn't have to be on there. So what I'm going to do first is glue my page down to this one here because this is going to be our top layer. Now what I did is I have some cutting dies that I use to cut these out, but if you don't have a cutting die, then find 3 different size circle objects in your house and just trace around them. You want them to maybe be at least a 1/2 inch difference in size if you can find that, and that way your layers will show better. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and glue this on. And then I also need to, because this piece right here is a little short, I need to glue something on here. So I'm just going to take a strip of some leftover paper that I have from cutting out these circles, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that down, and then we'll trim it off. So let me just cut that. This is another one of the prints in the kit. And if I remember right, there are 20 different pages in the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to glue it on the whole thing here. I should have kept it just a tad bit longer, but I think that'll be okay. All right. We'll glue the whole thing and then I'll have to, figure out how to fold that again to fit on my pages. All right, so I'm just going to put it right before the crease. It will be covered up by some of this one here. Okay, and we'll let that dry just a moment, and then we'll do the same with this. I'm going to put the glue on the envelope since our paper is a little larger than that. All right. And then we may need a little bit of glue on here. Let's line this up. There we go. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to go around and trim off the excess. All right, let me set these over here. And then next, we're going to line up these. Now I'm going to go ahead and line these up before I place the hinge down and fold it so that everything is lined up so that it looks even all around. And let me take, I've got a couple clips here. Let me see if I can take them and line them up to help us keep that straight. Okay, so that looks good. And then with your putting it on top of your journal, that is the look you're going to get. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fold this hinge over. Oh, I need to cut the excess off here. Let me do that. And the hinge is really there to help hold your pages together. Now, what I should have done, which I neglected to do on these, is I should have printed a paper on the back side of this one and this one. So you wouldn't have to use a CD case like I did if you have the dies. That was the first thing that kind of sparked my creativity, was seeing the envelope and thinking, oh, wouldn't that be neat to layer it? But you could just do this with paper. Put your, your paper on both sides. That way, if you want this to open, you won't have this on this side. But I have a little idea of how to kind of cover that up. But what I do want to do is I want to get these lined up. And then I want to decorate each layer. So on the journal itself, I want to add the butterfly. So you would have to find your center. Now, you could take that butterfly and glue it to the top of this if you wanted to. But I think I want to glue it to the journal. Plus, I'm going to trim this down slightly here in just a moment. So maybe I need to trim first. That's the fun thing about a craft with me, is you have to talk your way through how you want to do everything. So I just want to make sure my circles are even. And I'm going to grab my trimmer here. Hopefully it will cooperate with me. We'll have to see. I kind of want to trim this down to the size of the CD case. So I'm going to line that up with the top. You could certainly do this by hand if you want to. Line everything up. There we go. All right. I'm going to turn it around this way and do the same thing. And let me move this so it won't be in the way. I'm going to line this up with the trimmer. There we go. All right. Now everything is the same size. we'll set those over there in case we want to use them later. And then before we determine how we're going to glue this all together, I want to add some little decorations to each of them, some little embellishments. So it doesn't necessarily matter that your paper is perfectly measured from this side to that side. You can adjust that. If you want to measure it out, certainly feel free to do that. But just realize it's not, necessary to have it all perfect. So what I did, these are the fussy cuts for the kit, and I printed them 2 to a page so that I could make them a little smaller because I wanted to be able to use them as decoration. So kind of need to figure out where you want them and then where you need to put your glue. So I won't need glue all the way because I want some of this to stick out in the window. Okay, there we go. And let's see, let's pick a couple other ones here. I'm going to go ahead and just ink them slightly just to give them a little definition there. There we go. Okay. There we go. Straighten that just slightly. And, just periodically check your centering on this. That looks good. And let's see, what else could we add? We could add some more florals. Let's maybe do this bluish purple. And you want to kind of pay attention to where you put these. So as you do your next layer, okay, you can line up your holes. Go ahead and ink that a little bit. There we go. All right, trying to decide which way that's supposed to go. See, and as you can see, I kind of cut that paper a little bit crooked, but the way I'm going to do it today will not matter. If you were going to do it where you were going to open the journal up, then you would want to do, some measuring to make sure your circles were in the center. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is pick out the next layer. And I think I want to use a butterfly on this one. And you want to kind of place them in between your other ones here. And let's see, what else could we do here? A watering can. We've got the beautiful clock. So maybe we'll do the clock there. All right, so let's glue each of them down. Need to kind of leave it there so I can make sure it's lined up, but I don't want to get any glue on my other layer. So we're going to pull that back up, make sure our glue is not seeping out, and it's not. And then trying to decide if we want the butterfly and the clock over here or the other way around. I think like that. Okay, so we're going to do just about half of the butterfly. There we go. And about half of the clock. Let me reposition that so that the 12 is up on the top. Okay. There we go. Okay, there's our second layer. And then our third layer, we will line up. Okay, and so it looks like I turned my paper the wrong direction. So when we get done here, I will trim that again. And that's okay. All right, so what do we want to put on this one? I love this mushroom, so I think we have to find the mushroom a home on here. And let's see. We need something up here at the top. Maybe that. Maybe another butterfly in a little bit different shade. Yes, that's pretty. And then we need something maybe in a couple different spots. A little bit of floral there. And something needs to go here. I think that might be too big. Do we want a beetle? No. How about a bird? Do we want a bird mixed in there? Yes, I like that. So let me add just a little bit of ink to those. I hope I'm in camera there. Got to go over and visit my grandbaby. She's 2 months old and she's just smiling and cooing. She's just the sweetest little thing. It's exciting to see him grow. Okay, let's add our mushroom down here at the bottom. And I just love the pieces of this kit. All the different shades of purple are just perfect.
Night, boy.
All right, how do we want our butterfly? Maybe here a little bit? I think so. And we'll let him fly off the top. We won't cut him off. Right there. May have to add a little bit more glue. There we go. And then we're going to put the little bird, let's see, right about here. Make sure he's right side up. There we go. All right. And that makes it really cute and whimsical. And then what we would do if this was our journal is we would glue down our butterfly and center that in the center. Now, if that looks too big to you, we could maybe take one of our other pieces. I love that beetle. See, he's not quite big enough to me. I think he needs to be bigger, but we could maybe add him at the bottom. That's pretty. Let's see what else we have. We've got these pretty lilacs. Oh, I think that might be the one. Even more than the butterfly. Beautiful. Okay. So, you have two different options, probably more than that, but the two I'm thinking of is you can glue this all together, which is what I'm planning on doing, and then placing down on my journal as a journal topper. Or the reason I kind of created this hinge was if you took your paper and copied it on both sides, you could flip it up and see each layer. So I may have to create another one where I do that, where you can see each layer. But this time I just wanted to do a flat one all together as my journal topper. So I'm going to go ahead. I like where that's lined up. I'm going to glue it together, and then I'm going to trim off the excess here, okay? Let me make sure these are all lined up. And I'm going to put a little glue on each layer here. So this will all be together and hopefully straight. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead. I don't want to cut off the butterfly there, so I'll have to be careful as I get to that. Let me cut that off there so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, and I'm going to trim a little on this side. That's the fun thing about a craft with me, is you get to see how you go from beginning to end and the ways that you have to adjust sometimes. But that turned out really cute. And I'm going to go ahead and, just so we can see it finished, I'm going to glue down our lilacs. Okay. I'm going to keep my finger right there because that's where the corner needs to go. Right where my finger is. And then we can place this in the center. All right, and I'm going to glue that down. So if this was my journal cover, I would glue that down to the cover. And I noticed that I got it a little crooked. Sometimes I have a hard time putting things on straight. The lilacs are a little crooked under there, but that's okay. You know, junk journaling is supposed to have a little character. So that's what we're going to give it. And then I was thinking about, let's see what type of lace I have. So I have some seam binding if we need it. And lilac, and let's see, looking for a piece of lace I had earlier. What did I do with it? That might be it. I had this piece of lace that I thought if we wanted to use it, we could. Looking to see if any of my other lace would work well. I have this lace. It's a little bit long, but if you wanted to use it to kind of cover up the bottom, you could certainly do that. And then the other place I was thinking of sometimes that you want to kind of add a little bit would be around your spine. That's pretty, but I think it needs to be a little thicker for that. Something like that. I wish I had a longer piece of that, but I don't think I do. Let me think for a moment. I have this lace here, which would look pretty, and I think size-wise, that's a good size. So let's go ahead and add that. I'm just a big fan of lace. I love it. You may see a journal later on this month, maybe, that has this topper on it. All right. Now, I didn't glue that down. I didn't glue this down yet, but I'm going to. But if you kind of want to see what that would look like, if you had covered the other side there, that'll kind of give you the look of it. But this one I'm going to glue down. So we'll go ahead and glue that down. There we go. And then I think I want to outline this in the lace. And that would also help cover up any mistakes I have. Like a little bit of the hinge part is showing there. So I'm going to do the two tops first so that my ribbons are all lining up the same. And let's see. I think we can get just enough of that under the butterfly. Or we'll kind of, oh no, we can pull them up just slightly. Put that right there. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. There we go. And then let's do a layer here and here, and then one on the outside. Let me just cut two of these right now. Oh, just about used that lace up there. All right, let's glue these down. Like I said, the fun thing about Craft With Me is that you get to see the thought process and how you can overcome some of the, little, not mistakes, but just imperfections that you want to cover up a little bit, that you want to alter. All right, and there we go. Now I may come back later and trim this again and then add it on top of another journal. Or I may just trim the white off here and make me like a single signature journal right from this one right here. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you guys will come back and see me again soon. Thank you. Bye.